The sky turned dark. Heavy gray clouds covered the twin suns of the frozen planet Veralia. The wind began to scream like a wild beast. Snowflakes turned into sharp ice crystals. Everyone in the alien village knew what was coming. The ice storm. It was not just a storm. It was death. Anything caught outside would freeze in seconds. Bodies turned to ice statues, never moving again. In the middle of the panic, an alien woman named Ilara held her child close. Her arms were shaking, not from fear, but from weakness. She had not eaten in days. Her child Nemu was sick. He couldn't walk. His small body was wrapped in old cloth, barely enough to keep him warm. "Please," Ilara begged the other villagers. "Help us, he can't move." But no one stopped. No one listened. A tall alien male with cold eyes said, "The weak will only slow us down. Save yourself, Ilara." Another female hissed, "You should have let that child die when he was born." "He's useless." Ilara's heart broke again, but she didn't cry. She was used to this cruelty. Her people had never shown her love. Only strength mattered here. If you were weak, you were trash. Still, she refused to leave her son. She picked Nemu up, even though her arms felt like they would snap. The wind howled louder. The ground began to shake with the coming force of the storm. Villagers jumped into their shelters, locking the doors behind them. Ilara stumbled through the snow, trying to find a place to hide. Her legs were numb. Her breath came in short, painful gasps. The ice cut her face. Nemu whimpered in her arms, his small voice barely a whisper. "Mama, it hurts." "I know," she said softly. "I know, my little one." There was no shelter left, no place to hide. No one was going to help. She dropped to her knees in the snow, hugging her child close to her chest. She knew this was the end. She looked up at the sky and whispered, "Please, someone, anyone, save my son." The wind screamed in answer. But then footsteps. Crunch, crunch. Ilara turned her head slowly. A figure was walking toward her through the snow. Not a villager. Not one of her people. A human. He was tall, wearing a thick snowsuit, his face covered by a helmet with glowing red goggles. Steam rose from his back. His suit was warm, powered. He didn't look afraid of the storm. Ilara stared at him in shock. She had heard about humans before. During the war. Strange, emotional creatures. Dangerous, some said. Soft-hearted, others whispered. This one kneeled beside her. "You need help," the man said. His voice was calm but firm. He looked at Nemu, then back at her. "Can he walk?" Ilara shook her head. "He is sick. He is weak. Please, don't waste your time." But the man didn't move away. Instead, he took off his pack and pulled out a thick thermal blanket. He wrapped it around the boy carefully. "I don't leave kids behind," the human said. "Name's Jace. I'm getting you both out of here." Ilara's lips trembled. "Why? Why would you help us?" Jace looked straight into her eyes. "Because someone should." With that, he lifted Nemu into his arms. The child was so light, like feathers. Jace adjusted his grip and looked at Ilara. "Can you walk?" She nodded slowly, tears freezing on her cheeks. "Then follow me." They moved quickly through the blizzard. Jace seemed to know where he was going. Ilara stumbled behind him, holding the edges of the thermal blanket to keep some warmth. Her feet were bleeding, her vision was blurry, but still, she followed. She had no choice. They walked for what felt like hours, though it was only minutes. The storm roared louder behind them. The winds chased them like angry ghosts. Finally, Jay stopped in front of a large snow mound. He touched a hidden panel on the side. A metal door slid open with a hiss. It was a shelter. "A hidden bunker. Get inside," Jay said. While Ilara stepped in, and warmth hit her like a wave. She gasped and nearly fell, but Jace caught her with one arm while still holding Nemu with the other. He laid the boy down gently on a soft padded floor, then turned on the heater. Ilara looked around the small space lights, supplies, blankets. It was heaven compared to the frozen hell outside. She sat beside her child, watching Jace as he worked. He checked the boy's pulse, then handed Ilara a warm nutrient bar. "For you," he said. She took it with shaking hands. "I don't understand." "Why?" Jace gave her a small smile through his helmet. "Because no one deserves to die in the cold." Ilara looked down at her son, then back at the strange human who had saved them. For the first time in her life, she felt something new. Hope. But just as the feeling started to grow, a strange sound echoed from the dark corner of the shelter. Click, click, click. Jace turned fast, pulling out a small light. Something was already inside the bunker, and it was watching them. Click, click. The strange sound echoed through the shelter, loud and sharp. Ilara's body froze. Her arms wrapped tighter around Namu, who was now sleeping, his tiny face red from the cold. The sound was unnatural, metallic, slow, and deliberate. Jace stood in front of them, body tense, hand reaching for the tool on his belt. His glowing goggles scanned the dark corner of the shelter. "I don't like that sound," he said in a low voice. "Stay behind me." Ilara nodded. She couldn't even speak. Her heart pounded like a drum. Her people would have already run. They would have left her and the child behind. But this human didn't move away from danger. He stepped toward it. He activated a small flashlight from his suit. The beam cut through the shadows and revealed an old defense drone. It stood in the corner, half buried under ice and dust, its lens glowing a dim red. It had been sleeping, but their movement had woken it. The drone's programming didn't care who was good or bad. It only saw one thing: Koan intruders. Suddenly, a loud voice came from the drone in a broken mechanical tone. "Unauthorized life forms detected. Activating security protocol." "No, no, no," Jace whispered. "This thing still works?" The drone's legs unfolded. It rose like a spider made of rusted steel. A small energy cannon popped out from its side. Ilara gasped. "It will shoot?" "Yes," Jace said, stepping forward. "Unless I stop it first." He handed Ilara a metal plate from his belt. "Hold this in front of you and the boy. Don't move unless I say." She nodded, still trembling. The drone aimed. Its weapon glowed blue, charging for a shot. Jace didn't wait. With a swift motion, he pulled out a multi-tool, twisted it, and flung it like a knife at the drone. It struck the power core behind the cannon. Boom, sparks flew. The drone screamed in static and dropped to the floor, smoking and twitching. The cannon fizzled out. Its red eye dimmed to black. While Ilara stared in awe. Her people had always called humans clumsy, emotional, and weak. But this human had just faced a deadly machine. For a child that wasn't even his. "Is it dead?" she whispered. "For now," Jace replied, breathing hard. "But we need to stay alert. There could be more." He walked back toward her. She noticed a burn on his arm. Part of his suit had been scorched in the explosion. "You're hurt." "It's fine," he said with a weak grin. "Better me than him." Ilara looked down at Nemu. He hadn't woken. He was safe. Because of this strange, brave human. Later, after patching his arm and cleaning the mess, Jace sat beside the small heater. He placed Nemu gently on a folded blanket and offered Ilara something to drink, warm liquid from a bottle in his gear. She took it carefully. Her fingers were still shaking. "I don't understand," she said quietly. "Why did you help us?" Jace looked at her, his face tired but calm. "Because it's the right thing to do." Ilara lowered her eyes. "My own people. They ran from me. They said my child was weak, worthless." Jace frowned. "That's not weakness. That's cruelty." She looked up again. There was a strange feeling inside her, one she didn't recognize. Was this trust? I never knew someone like you, she said. Good, Jace replied. Then let me show you what someone like me can do. Outside, the storm still screamed. The shelter rattled from the wind. Snow covered the world like a blanket of ice, but inside, it was warm. And for the first time in her life, Elora felt safe, not because of strong walls, not because of machines, but because of one human who didn't walk away. At first, Elora thought it was just a dream, a soft thumping sound, then another. Thump, thump, scrape. She opened her eyes slowly, her body stiff and sore. The shelter's small heater was glowing, casting shadows on the walls. Namu was curled up beside her, still breathing. Still alive, but something didn't feel right. Jace was sitting by the door, half asleep with his head resting against the wall. His helmet lay beside him. His face looked tired, but calm. Then she heard it again. Thump. Scrape, thump. Not from the drone, not the storm. Something else. Her breath caught in her throat. She touched Jace's arm gently. He woke instantly, his training sharp. What is it? He whispered. Listen, she said. They both sat still. Silent. Then knock. Knock, knock. 3 soft taps. From under the floor. J a CE single quotes. S face changed. He stood slowly, grabbed the scanner from his pack, and pointed it at the floor panels. A blinking dot appeared. There's something alive under the bunker, he muttered. Deep underground. Elora looked terrified. Another drone? No, organic, breathing slow, very slow. He bent down and removed the panel near the back wall. Underneath was a metal hatch, old and rusted shut. He tapped it. Knock, knock. Something knocked back. Jay stood up straight. Okay, this just got weird. He worked carefully, connecting his scanner to the hatch. Data scrolled across the small screen. Whatever's down there, it's trapped, he said. Probably for a long time. Should we open it? Elora asked, clutching Namu closer. Jace looked at her. I've made it a rule never to open strange doors on frozen planets. But, he paused. That sound, it doesn't feel threatening. It sounds scared. Elora stared at the hatch, then whispered, What if it's like me? Jace looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Let's find out. He heated his tool and began cutting through the frozen hinges. The smell of old metal filled the bunker. Sparks flew. Namu stirred slightly but didn't wake. As the hatch finally cracked open, cold air rushed up from below. It wasn't just cold, it felt ancient. Like time itself had been hiding down there. Jace aimed his flashlight into the hole. What he saw made his eyes widen. Curled up inside, covered in frost and metal chains, was a small alien girl. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes blinked slowly against the light. She was alive. Barely. Lara gasped. She's just a child. Jace reached in gently. The girl flinched but didn't resist. He pulled her out, wrapped her in a blanket, and laid her beside Namu. Elora kneeled next to her. Why was she down there? Jace shook his head. Locked up. Maybe hidden during the war. Maybe someone left her. He looked at the girl's wrists, scarred from old cuffs. Someone didn't want her found. Hours passed. The storm above roared louder. The shelter shook from the cold fury outside. Inside, Jace now had 2 children to protect, and one alien mother staring at him with eyes full of confusion, wonder, and something else. Why are you doing this? Elora asked again. Jace shrugged and leaned back against the wall. Back home, we say this. If you have the strength to help someone, then you're supposed to. She looked at him quietly. And what if helping them puts you in danger? He gave her a small smile. Then you help anyway. Elora didn't respond. She just stared at the 2 children. One hers, one a stranger, yet both now in the arms of a human who owed them nothing and risked everything. In the silence that followed, Jace reached for his radio. I'm calling for evac, he said. The storm may last days. We won't survive that long down here without more supplies. Will your people come? Ilara asked softly. Jace looked at her, voice steady. They better, because I've got 2 kids and a mother worth saving. But deep beneath the snow, far under the shelter, another system woke up. A long dormant war signal blinked red. Coordinates. Locked. Power rising. Weapons, warming. They weren't alone on this planet. Not anymore. Asterisk. The wind outside never slept. It screamed across the frozen wasteland like a beast searching for prey. The shelter groaned under the pressure, metal creaking, ice forming around the vents. Inside it was dim, quiet, heavy with silence. Jace sat by the heater, peeling a ration bar in half. He didn't eat it. He handed both pieces to Ilara. She looked at the food, then at him. You haven't eaten today, she said. I'm fine, he replied. You're shaking. She whispered. I'm still fine, he said with a small smile. Ilara stared at him. In her world, no one gave away food, not to strangers, not even to family. Kindness was weakness. But here was this human offering her food while growing colder by the hour. She took the bar, broke it in half again, and placed a piece back in his hand. If we share, she said quietly, we both survive. Jace blinked, then nodded. Fair. Deal. They chewed in silence, side by side, the dim orange light flickering over their tired faces. Nemu slept curled between 2 blankets, his breathing calm. The rescued alien girl, still weak, lay close beside him. She hadn't spoken yet. She simply stared at the roof, her eyes wide and distant. Ilara had given her a name, Sira, which meant silent light in her native tongue. She hasn't spoken, Ilara said softly. Maybe she never will. She will, Jace replied, when she feels safe. Ilara looked at him. How do you know? Because I was silent once too. She tilted her head, surprised. You? Jace nodded. When I was a child, I saw things I couldn't understand. Bad things. Things that made me stop talking. I thought if I stayed quiet, the pain would stop. But it didn't. It only grew. Ilara's voice trembled. How did you come back? He smiled sadly. Someone held my hand and didn't let go. For a long while, they said nothing. The shelter hummed. The snowstorm continued to claw at the world outside. Then, without thinking, Ilara slowly reached out. Her hand thin, alien, marked with frostbites, touched his. She expected him to flinch. He didn't. His fingers closed around hers gently. She felt heat. Not just warmth from the skin, but something deeper. Something that felt like safety. Like life. Like the thing she had been chasing all her years without knowing its name. I never touched anyone like this, she whispered. I know, Jace said. Me neither. The shelter dimmed slightly. Power was draining. Jace stood, checked the system panel, and gave a sigh. We've got maybe 10 hours left of heat, he said. Less if the storm gets worse. Ilara looked down. What we do? We stay close, Jace replied. Share body heat. Her eyes widened. Don't worry, he said gently. I'll keep it respectful. She nodded slowly. He helped. Lay out extra blankets, made a small space near the heater. He motioned her to sit. She did, holding Namu on one side, while Jace sat on the other. Between her and the cold, they didn't speak, but they breathed together. She watched him. Close his eyes, his shoulders relaxed. He trusted her. Her chest tightened. She had never been trusted before. She had always been watched, judged, used. But here, in this tiny frozen place, in the middle of a deadly storm, a human leaned against her and slept in peace. She looked down at their joined hands. Her fingers curled tighter. Around his. Maybe this wasn't just survival anymore. Maybe it was something more. Far away, under the ice, the ancient war signal blinked again. A message was sent. It echoed into space. Something, or someone heard it, and they were coming. It started with a vibration. So soft, so small. Even the heater didn't notice. But Jace did. He opened his eyes in the dark, breath fogging in the cold air. Ilara was still asleep, curled around Namu. The rescued girl, Sira, lay beside them, eyes half open but still silent. Jace sat up slowly. The shelter's floor trembled. Barely. Then again. Thump, thump. Crunch. Not wind. Not machines. Something heavy was moving outside. He reached for his scanner. It blinked. Multiple life forms. Big. Cold-blooded. Approaching. Jace stood, silent. As a shadow. He pulled on his suit and whispered to Ilara. "Wake up, quietly." She blinked, confused. "What's happening?" "They found us." Above them, the snow began to fall from the roof in chunks. Heavy footfalls echoed over the bunker. Thump. Crunch. Snort. Yl. Era looked at Jace with wide eyes. "Is it the villagers?" He shook his head once. "No, it's worse. Ice beasts." She gasped. "Those are just stories, creatures made from frozen rock and rage." Jace checked the power level of his weapon. "They're real, and they're hunting heat." He turned off the heater. The shelter dropped 10 degrees in seconds. Sira whimper ed. Nem. You shivered. "Hold them tight," Jace said. "I need to draw them away." Ilara grabbed his arm. "No. They'll kill you." Jace looked at her, eyes calm but intense. "If I stay, we all die." He opened the outer hatch. Just a crack, just enough to slide out. The storm hit him like a hammer. Snow blasted into his face. But he moved quickly, lighting a flare and throwing it far into the snowfield. The red flame danced in the darkness. Seconds later, a monstrous roar shook the ground. 3 huge shapes moved through the blizzard, covered in thick ice. Glowing blue eyes, claws like glass. Beasts taller than houses. They turned toward the flare, chased it. It worked. Jace smiled for a second. Until one of them stopped. It turned and looked right at him. Inside, Ilara was rocking Namu and Sira, whispering to keep them calm. The shelter creaked louder than ever. She could feel that something massive was outside. And something had changed. Then came the roar, but it didn't fade. It got closer. She held her children tighter, heart racing. "Please come back, Jace." Outside, Jace was running, through snow, through darkness. The beast behind him was fast, too fast. Ice cracked under its feet like thunder. Its breath steamed in the cold. Its mouth opened, lined with frozen teeth. Jace dove behind a rock. The beast smashed it like paper. He rolled, fired his pulse weapon. It only made the creature angrier. Then, as it lunged, he dropped a thermal grenade. Boom! Heat exploded in a ball of light. The creature screamed, blinded by the warmth, falling back with cracks in its icy skin. Jace limped away, breathing hard. He was bleeding now, leg cut, ribs aching. But alive. He looked back once. They weren't following. They were watching. Waiting. He had only bought time. Back in the shelter, Ilara jumped as the door slammed open. Jace stumbled in, covered in ice and blood. She caught him before he fell. "You're hurt," he smiled weakly. "That's normal. You saved us again." He looked at the kids, safe and warm, eyes wide with fear, but alive. "That's all that matters." She held his face. "Why do you keep risking your life like this?" He looked at her, and for once, he let the truth slip. "Because when I look at you, at them, I finally feel like I matter." Ilara's heart stopped for a moment. No one had ever said that to her, not even her own family. That night, while Jace rested, she sat beside him. She touched his hand again, not just to feel warmth, but to give it back. Far above the planet, a ship responded to the old war signal. It wasn't friendly. It had seen the flare. It had heard the beasts, and now it wanted to know who had dared to survive this long. Asterisk, the map was broken, the power was low, and the only thing that kept Jace moving was the soft sound of Nemu's breathing against his chest. He had wrapped the alien child in every layer he could find, his coat, the thermal blankets, even the last heat pack. Ilara walked beside him, stumbling, cold, silent, but never quitting. Their destination was clear now, a high mountain ridge miles away, where a forgotten emergency beacon might still work. Their only hope. Behind them, the ice beasts watched from the dark. Above them, a warship drifted in orbit, its sensors searching. And around them was death. They had to cross the death zone. Jace adjusted the straps around his shoulders. Nemu was strapped to his back, quiet but alive. His body ached. His fingers were numb. His right leg throbbed from the wound he got saving them last night. Ilara was coughing now, weak. She tried to hide it, but he saw the pain in her eyes. "Rest," he said softly. "No," she answered, forcing herself forward. "My son needs me strong." "You're already strong," Jace replied. "You're walking through a world that wants to kill you for him." Ilara said nothing, but her hand reached for his. They walked like that together, across the white, endless snow, time blurred. Every step felt heavier. The wind slapped their faces. Jace's vision was fading in and out. He hadn't slept. He hadn't eaten. He didn't care. Only one thing mattered: get them to safety. Hours passed. Ilara collapsed. He caught her. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I can't move." He looked down at her, blue skin pale, eyes closing, breath weak. He had a choice now: carry her or keep moving with the child. The human part of him screamed to carry them both. The soldier in him whispered that carrying her would slow him, that they would all die. But then he remembered what she had said earlier: if we share, we both survive. He knelt, picked her up with both arms, Ilara in front, Nemu still tied to his back. He groaned in pain, but he stood, and he walked. One slow, bleeding step at a time. The mountain was close now, just ahead. A small spike stuck out of the ice, a metal tower. Rusted but still standing, the emergency beacon. He reached it. He fell to his knees. With frozen hands, he pulled the cover open and pressed the signal button. It sparked. It blinked red. It worked. "Please," Jace muttered into the transmitter. "This is Sergeant Jace Morgan, requesting evac. 3 survivors. 1 human, 2 alien children, 1 adult. Coordinates transmitting now." No reply. He pressed it again. And again. "Come on," he whispered. Ilara stirred in his arms, barely conscious. "Did it work? I don't know." "Then, you've done all you could." Jace looked at her. She was slipping away. "No," he said, voice rising. "Not yet." He tore open the last energy pack, shoved it into the beacon's base, and forced the system to reboot. The screen blinked to green. Transmission sent. He collapsed beside her. The storm howled louder than ever now. A final rage. He pulled her close, wrapped them in the last of the heat, and whispered, "I didn't know why I survived the war, but now I do." She blinked, tears frozen on her lashes. "You gave me something to fight for again." High above, on the edge of space, a human rescue ship received the signal. They turned fast. Engines roared. They locked on. And dropped through the clouds. She woke up to silence. No wind. No storm. No pain. Just stillness. While Era opened her eyes slowly. The sky above her was white, but not from snow. It was a ceiling made of smooth metal and light. Warmth touched her skin for the first time in what felt like forever. She wasn't in the shelter. She wasn't in the snow. She was in a human ship. Alive. Safe. She turned her head. There, just a few feet away, Nemu lay in a medical pod, sleeping peacefully, color back in his cheeks. Sira sat beside him, awake and holding his hand. She looked at Ilara, and for the very first time she smiled. Tears filled Ilara's eyes. She had never seen that girl smile. Not once, but then she noticed something. Missing. Jace. He wasn't in the room. Fear hit her like cold water. She tried to stand, her legs still weak, but a nurse helped her. A kind human woman with soft eyes and a calm voice. "Please, Ilara," whispered, her voice shaking. "Where is the man?" "The one who saved us?" The nurse smiled. "Come with me." They walked down a quiet hallway, lit with golden light. Every step, Ilara felt her heart beat faster. The door opened. And there he was. Jace, sitting upright in a medical chair, chest wrapped in bandages, bruises across his face, but smiling like he had just won a war. He turned when he saw her, and he actually laughed. "You're awake," he said, his voice raw but warm. She didn't wait. She crossed the room and hugged him, not like a stranger, not like someone unsure. She hugged him like he was home. They sat together in silence for a while. Outside the window, stars drifted slowly past. "Back there," Ilara said. "I thought I was going to die." Jace nodded. "So did I. But I wasn't afraid," she added. "Not when you held me." He looked at her. "Because you were strong." She shook her head, smiling softly. "No, because you were." Later, the ship's commander entered and spoke gently with Jace. They were returning to the human station. The alien council would be contacted. Ilara stood nearby, listening. She wasn't afraid of what came next, because everything had already changed. Not just her life, her heart. She had seen something her people had never shown her. Not power. Not control, but compassion. Days later, a new room was prepared for Ilara and the children on the human station. Warm, safe, peaceful. When Jace was strong enough to walk, he visited often. And one evening, as the artificial sun set outside the window, Naimu called out, "Mom, he's here." Ilara stood up, fixing her scarf. She opened the door. Jace was there, holding a small gift in one hand, a soft blanket, hand-stitched with a symbol she didn't recognize. "It's from Earth," he said. "It means family." She looked at the symbol, then at him. And then she whispered something that made his eyes soften, then stay, and be part of ours. She had once believed kindness was weakness, but now she knew better, because the human who saved her didn't just rescue her body. He gave her something no storm could ever take away, a reason to live and a reason to love.